Well, that's where I was heading. I'm not saying that I could fight a bear with a shovel, but if I ran into a bear out here, I would much rather have a shovel than nothing at all. I'm definitely not trained in Russian hand-to-bear combat, and I've left my bear spray back at the boat, as I often do. It's more of a peace of mind while asleep type of thing. So that moose over there, if that thing's pissed off with me, I don't think this shovel's doing anything. But it's an inside bend, so I'm just gonna like slowly approach with caution, make some noise. I've waited about 5 minutes here so that it can just move on. We're gonna go see if there's some gold down there. Here's that inside bend. Moose seems to have moved along. So right here we've got some sand coming in on this inside bend, turning into a bit of gravel. So one pan from up here, and then just on the far side of the bushes there, a second pan there. I put one shovel into the pan, and then I carry the next shovel to the river so I can kind of have 2 pans worth next to me while I'm panning, and we will see what we get from this. So the top run, just sort of behind those bushes, that gave me about 7 colors, and I've got the shovel from just on this side of the bushes. Roughly, I don't know, 5, 6, 7 little colors. Far from spectacular. This area, you'd have to hike in quite a ways, and as I don't have a cart, it might be a thing where you'd wait for higher water for this. But I was just curious because I finished the last pay streak and I wanted to see if there was something really spectacular down here. I will do about 5 or 6 more pans just to, you know, make the walk worthwhile. And then time to go find the next pay streak. Wow, a lot has happened since I last remembered to turn on my camera. Moved around on the river a little bit and found a different spot. This spot is, you know, right tight to the river. Ran into another prospector and we sort of had a look at each other's boxes, and he had some really good suggestions for mine. I have learned that I have lots more to learn. How you set up your box. I've always maintained an attitude of I don't really know everything. It's not set in stone. So it's like not like my way is the only way to do this. It's like, here's what I'm aware of right now. And it's really awesome seeing other people and how they set up their sluice boxes so that I can try things on my own. And when people give me insights as to what might or might not work, I'm always open to trying them, which I hope pays off. I've been doing a little bit of digging behind me, and I set up my tent. The other guy said he smelled bear, and I actually don't know what bear smells like, but it's sort of this weird rotten meat kind of scent, and it keeps coming and going. So somewhere up there, there is most likely a bear scooting around. So I've always got my bear spray right on hand today. Got a little fire going on the beach behind me, and it should just be a really nice evening. Wake up tomorrow and keep on digging for the morning till it's time to head on home. It's taken a few tries to get this one going. A lot of wet wood around here, but got my tent in the background, and this poor tent, I forgot how bad it was, but I can't actually close the zipper and the bugs are horrendous. So the zipper's like broken open here, so I just kind of pin this one here and then have to use the bottom one. I've already gotten that zipper replaced once, and there's a few other things that are coming apart on that tent. So as soon as I can afford one, I'm gonna get a new tent. The high banker, I had a fellow prospector give me some tips, and one of the things I'm doing is I'm running a lower slope. I will figure out exactly what the slope is. Right now I just have this little bubble level. Instead of being in the middle, it's over there, saying, you know, it's a lesser slope than I had before. I think the target is about 1.25 inches per foot rather than 1.5 inches. I'm also running slower water flow, and this is kind of an interesting thing that he brought up. Right at the front here, I've got this ramp, and the water really speeds up here, and then it goes quite quickly over the first 6 inches of my actual recovery and then slows down. And so he was saying that it's going so fast here that I'm missing out on a lot of gold. And as far as I was concerned, I'm like, well, whatever, so long as it's at the correct speed by the time it gets further down in the box. But it's a short box, and so the top 6 inches is doing nothing for recovery, and then the top 6 inches of my recovery mat is not optimal. So I'm sort of missing out on 12 inches of my sluice. And so I might not do something this year, but long term I would sort of redesign how this works. But just for now, I snapped this stick in half and sort of stuck it here, and it stops some of the flow of water just enough that it actually slows it down here, and now it's running a nice recovery speed right at the very top of the box. So obviously there's always sort of an unlimited number of, they're works in progress forever. My boat's a work in progress, the box is a work in progress, and it feels good to be learning. Key takeaway for this evening is run my box a little bit slower, pay a little bit more attention to recovery. Again, I'm used to doing that with other mats, and then I just sort of said, oh hey, read on the internet, this is how you run miner's moss, seems to catch a lot of gold, and just started ignoring it. So basically I can do better, and I might as well at least try. It's always really cool to get new ideas of how to do things like that. Gonna modify the legs, gotta modify that top section of the recovery a little bit. Another thing that happened is, because it's sort of this more mucky ground, managed to get this heated up a little bit over the stove and then squished it so it's blasting a little bit better. I want just like a straight stream shooting out to really, impact this stuff and tear it apart. But the way I had this set up, it was sort of like spraying, like it was expanding like a big, spray. That's not what I wanted. This is not the final solution. I'm going to get what I think is called an agricultural nozzle. So it's like a little square in here that keeps things from spraying or from twisting all over. But for now, I can just screw this in and out, and this gives me a little bit more pressure to break apart everything I'm putting in. I'm still using the bucket to collect my tailings and distribute that method. You have to lift the bucket and move stuff around as opposed to just spreading it out with your shovel. But for now, I feel like that's still easier. And the pay streak that I'm working it's actually kind of interesting. It's not the best pay out there, for sure. But there's a section of gravel here that you can easy digging. And it seems like, okay, as you go left towards the river, really tapers off. So this is like the good section. And then this section, there's all this like sand and muck on top in a thin layer, and the gravel directly below that is just as good as this gravel. And as you go in, it gets thicker and thicker and thicker and thicker. So there's a point where you don't want to go too far in, or you're just dealing with too much overburden. But at this point, this like top layer, I've been shoveling that off and just discarding it in order to get this layer of gravel underneath, which seems to be pretty good all the way along to here where I've shoveled. Now, I did dig a hole a little bit further in down the bank, and that same pay layer continues all the way in here, but it's under a thick enough layer of this muck, it's just not worth working in towards that. And then, of course, I dug even deeper, and it's like nothing in the top muck. And then in the surface layer of gravel, there is gold. And then if you go below that deeper, there's no gold again. So it's just this thin layer that goes all the way up there. I'm assuming that was a previous pay streak. Happened during one of the big floods and just distributed all this gravel. And then in a subsequent flood, all this mud got set up on top of everything. So you had a good pay streak that got covered with mud, or bad pay streak. And that is sort of how this formed, in my mind at least. Now, all of our wet wood that we have going on over here, it looks like we actually have something that's taken here. So hopefully I can actually stand by this fire and get myself all covered in smoke. I really like when you have a hoodie on, or any kind of nice cotton clothes that absorbs smoke. You get out by the fire and just close your eyes, hold your breath, and just get covered in smoke. It's a really effective way to help with the mosquitoes. I am walking around with my Thermacell on my hip, and of course my bear spray in my pocket. I'm not wearing a belt, but bear spray handy just in case. And that Thermacell, I mean, I'd like to say amazing things about it, but it's like the mosquitoes here, they are attracted to it. They're like, oh, I see you have a Thermacell. That must mean you're human. I'm going to go check you out and eat you. They're just vicious little buggers. So that being said, I'm glad I have this on, because I'm sure it would be worse without it, but it's not like you can just walk around free like life's good. I have my Thermacell on me. Mosquitoes are bad this year. I'm just going to focus on tending to this fire for now, because to actually sit down and just, put my feet up, enjoy the fire, it's going to make for a great evening. I'm done with shoveling for now. Tomorrow I've got a little bit more shoveling to do, and then I got to head home fairly early. No mosquitoes in that smoke. Good morning, everybody. Back to digging. See where we're at. You've got your high banker here with the crushed nozzle for better blasting power. And what I'm taking off the bank here is just the very, very surface layer here. So that is where the money's at. Right there. You can see you're getting sort of destructoed away down there. Got a stick up at the front, slowing the flow down just a little bit so it doesn't just swoosh off that top plate. And would you look at that? It's just working its way back. I guess I can lower the angle of this slightly. Oh, that is a beautiful thing. Rocks are tumbling fairly clean into the bucket. Come on, little buddy. Aha! There you go, friend. Oh no. Come on, little guy. There you go. Hop up on the stick. There you go. Nice and safe. Nice, safe stick. Somewhere you can let the wind dry you off. All right. Well, there's my good deed for the day. And just a quick preview. Still need to give these a second rinse to make sure they're totally clean. But this is my hopper moss located right here. Way too steep, getting blasted directly. And from that, I just did a quick pan. So there's lots of gold. That's just a quick preview. I'm heading home. See what's actually in this entire run, including the entire moss of the entire box, which is currently sitting underwater right there.
Something about you feels so different. Yeah, you mess me up inside. It's like your energy was kissing my soul back to life, was living. Now it feels like every part of me is dying. Yeah, you're gone without a trace. You left me where no one can find me. There's no sign of life out here. I scream and it goes silent. I fight so hard, but I can't fight my way out. Lost all dimension and time.
I'm going to pour this onto the scale. We'll just turn this thing on. Let that zero out. Okay, we're at 0. And let's see how we do. Woo-wee. All right, there's the first half a gram there, 0.75. So we're over a gram. That's always nice. 1 gram of gold, and then it's just going to be a little bit. Okay, no, we're actually up to 1.5. That's honestly better than I was guessing. 1.58. So a little worse than the first day's dig, but still 1.59 grams of gold, considering I really wasn't just working my butt off, and it wasn't the best pay streak. So to see that that's possible, it's encouraging, right? That's always nice. Let's give you a really good close-up of this super, super fine gold in relation to the slightly coarser gold from last week. So I'll just set these side by side, and we'll get the camera zoomed right in on that for you. Now I can only hope that this actually shows up. Remember, the 1.87 grams here, 1.58 grams here. So it's actually a very similar quantity of gold. It's just the way this is all spread out right now. But you can actually tell just roughly the texture. This is on average coarser. There's some really fine gold along here, and then that's coarser. And then this is just all really, really fine. Okay, so this is day 1. You can really see at this magnification that there's some real character to some of this gold. Some really fine stuff still in there. And then this was the day 2 run. So obviously there's still a good mix of everything, some good character in there. But you've got that versus that, a little coarser over here. Just a touch, focuses, touch finer over there. 1.58 grams, and last week's 1.87 grams. It's a decent amount of gold for what I was expecting. I had decided to just set up somewhere that wasn't super great because I wanted to get a little bit of enjoyment out of the trip. I guess the lesson is, if I want to pay my expenses, if I want to pay for gas while I'm out there, I really do need to just keep searching for better ground, or really be motivated to dig hard to break even out there. But so long as it is a hobby, it's a hobby, and hobbies are meant to be enjoyed. So I did have a really good trip out there. It can be really demoralizing when you're looking for a certain amount of gold and you keep panning spots and you just can't quite get there. It sort of perks you up a little bit when you start finding some gold, and then you can dial in on better and better gold. But then once you've found the peak pay streak of an area, and you're trying to be, okay, let's be responsible. Let's not dig here, and let's move to the next spot because we need better gold in order to, find the type of money we need. It wears on a person. And so I was glad to just set up and dig. And at the end of the day, 1.58 grams, and the first day, 2.5 hours got me 1.87. Like, that was very surprising, and I definitely learned a lot there. So I've got the boat, I've got a general lay of the land of where I need to be looking, and it's just a matter of putting in the time going forwards. So hopefully I can get out to beautiful British Columbia and just see a different type of gold. My goal is to, in a trip, say a 3-day trip, to pan a gram of gold. I think that would be really cool. So I might go to one of the open panning areas, at which point I can let you know where it is. Or I'll just stick with the old, you guys can find your own spots, and this is more a channel about the adventure, not about telling you where to go. Yeah, Leave a comment below if you have any questions about the video. I read all of the comments and I will try to answer those that I can. Give the video a thumbs up. It's good for the algorithm and helps my channel grow. Would much appreciate that. And as always, thank you all for watching. Until next time, cheers.